Are you searching for an opening for white that is not only strong, but comes with plenty of traps to destroy your opponents?
Then heed my words, for I possess the knowledge you seek.
The Scottish Gambit. You absolutely must learn this if you are below 1800 ELO, because if you play it well, you can achieve a 70% win for white, which is insane. In this video, I will show you how to play against the most common moves, how to punish black mistakes, and of course, all the juicy traps that you can lay upon your enemies. Make sure you watch until the end, because we'll go through a real game that will turn you into a total expert on the Scotch Gambit. Let's jump in. The Scottish Gambit starts like a normal King's Pawn game, which is literally the most played opening in chess. But then you move into the Scotch game by pushing your Queen's Pawn to d4, striking the centre right away. If your opponent captures, which happens in about 72% of games, you enter the Scottish Gambit. If they decline, you just take over the centre and play a regular game. Now, here's how we're going to approach this. I'm not going to throw 1,249,012 theoretical moves at you, because that's pointless. Instead, I'll show you how to respond to the most common moves and give you a clear plan and ideas in case black tries something unusual. There are two main variations we'll look at: when black develops the bishop or when they develop the knight. The most common by far is bishop to c5, a natural move that defends the pawn and develops a piece. And here comes our first trap. We let go of our pawn, and if black takes it, an amazing tactic gives us a fantastic position. And trust me, I've used this opening to reach 2000 ELO, and I have never seen black resist taking this pawn. We sacrifice our bishop, win back one of our pawns, and when the king captures, we deliver a double check. This not only wins back material, but also forces the king to lose castling rights and weakens his position. You could grab the pawn right away, but I recommend adding more pressure first with a check on h5, creating weaknesses on the back rank diagonal. After we take his bishop, black usually has two choices: pawn to d6, where you capture on c3 attacking the rook, a piece that can be blundered at lower levels, or black takes your pawn. In that case, recapture with your bishop, which suddenly becomes very active. From both lines, your goal is the same: pile up pressure on the knight on f6 and look for ways to attack the black king stuck in the middle of the board. Develop your pieces quickly, stay sharp for mistakes, and you'll be in a great position. Another very common move is bishop to b4 check. Here I recommend playing the same gambit. After black takes, just ignore it and castle, reaching basically the same setup as in the previous variation. Now, the most common move is that black develops the knight, and this is where we push it. Always remember to push the knight, because it's one of the main ideas of this opening. It makes it really hard for black to find a good square. The knight only has three real options: h5, which is not ideal because a knight on the edge of the board is basically half a knight; e4, which leads us back into the same trap we already saw, or g4, and after pawn to h3, the knight has to retreat to h6. Now, if we push our e-pawn, most of the time we'll find this beautiful fork, winning a free knight. Any other bishop move is usually a mistake, especially bishop to d4, because now after the usual pawn sacrifice, you can play queen to d5, threatening checkmatey. If black doesn't find the right defence, you're just winning. Knight to c6 only temporarily covers the threat. You take it with your bishop, and after black castle, make sure you grab the pawn on g7. If you don't, you might fall into a trap. If you try to save your rook with bishop to c2, black can play knight to b4, attacking your queen and threatening a fork. If you defend, you lose your bishop. The simple solution? Just take on g7 and keep the plan. Now you know how to deal with the bishop variations. Let's look at what happens when black develops the knight. Thanks to our gambit, we can push the knight away with our pawn. Black's best move here is to counter-attack with pawn to d5, and in that case I recommend simply pinning the knight and continuing with a normal game. But in practice, you'll see something much more common: knight to g4. and this gives us the chance to set another trap. After we sacrifice our bishop again, we usually give a check on g5 to recapture the knights. But this time we can get sneaky. We play queen to f3. Now black thinks we're going for an easy checkmate, and he'll believe he has enough time to save his knight, defend against mate, and maybe even grab a pawn. But here's the trick. After he makes his move, we have queen to d5, setting up a clever mate. Now you know the traps, but you might not know what to do if black goes crazy and plays weird moves. I mentioned this briefly before. Now we'll watch the game together so you can see how to think in any situation. After black accepts the gambit, we reach our base position, but then he plays pawn to h6, something we haven't seen yet. Black does this because he's scared of the fried liver attack and wants to stop your knight from jumping to g5, but the question is, what should white do? Well, whenever black wastes a tempo like this, your waiting move should always be castle. Now black develops the bishop. What does white do? Exactly. He gives away the c-pawn to trap black into his game. After this trap, black plays one of the most common moves we talked about before, pawn to d6. He gains a tempo attacking our queen while also semi-developing his white square bishop. White simply captures the pawn on c3. At this point, both players want to develop. Black brings out his knight, attacking white's pawn, but it's defended by the rook. Black develops his bishop. White defends it. Black connects his towers, and white pushes the b-pawn, creating a nice square for his own bishop. Black places his rook on the semi-open file, and white puts his bishop on the long diagonal. Now we can say both sides are fully developed. See? White has followed the plan. Develop quickly, open the centre, and when in doubt, don't blunder. While black exchanges some pieces, white is patient, just waiting for a mistake. Sure, white is down a pawn, but his king is much safer and his pieces are much better placed. And now, when a chance to attack finally appears, the gambit shows its power. Knight to g4, threatening a fork. Black moves away, but then a tactic appears. The king has very little space. White plays pawn to b4. Black thinks it's Christmas, and that white just handed him a free pawn. But I remember what your parents always said, never take free stuff from strangers, because after queen to c4, white threatens checkmates and the knight can't be defended. Black didn't see it and he loses the game. Of course, black made mistakes, but that's exactly how you're gonna win games, by knowing how to punish mistakes when they happen. Do you know how to punish the most annoying opening the scholar's made tip? If not, check the video on the left. Hope you enjoyed this one, and remember, this is Chimpawn Chess.